Yes, and
I would not shave even if it was the White House, sorry. So, we're glad to have you here.
Yes.
We're not gonna speak today because it's not about us. Mrs. Allison and I, Julie, we're the ones that oversee this, but it's all about the
Yes.
students. They run the program, they're in charge of it, and I gotta fill time because the person who's supposed to talk is doing her job right now, she's answering the phone.
So you're soft shooting.
I'm soft shooting it here, waiting for her because she's up first. That's a direct line. We,
Okay.
Anna will talk a little bit later. We field calls from the public and the parents for tech support. So they can call in to a direct line and then Anna will call them back. And she'll explain some of the other things we
If
do
you
with
go
that
to
also.
the website, which is
No, we'll just-
watch her listen.
Just to give you a heads up, I've got 4 of them. They're right off they're gonna be right in the beginning, and as soon as they're done, they've got to leave.
And so if you
So
go
they'll do
there,
their presentation, and then they've got to get to class.
link to where they
At the end of the day, you're gonna see a whole bunch of middle schoolers come in. Today is also interview day.
Okay, so if
The
you
way
have
that,
your
and
credit
they'll
card
explain that the way this program works, we don't pick the students that come in here. They do. So they will be interviewing the middle school students today, so they're gonna come in. They have no idea that you're here, so that may just absolutely panic them to see you guys here too, so they'll be coming in at 2:30. Where did she go?
She's now kneeling.
Oh.
school website.
She's in deep support.
Yes.
That is right below.
That notification says it's a second tier.
See if it's easiest to do that.
Yeah.
To call off school. and-
Yes, they do
So,
that.
like,
They move the kids off to school.
Yes, you can take all the pictures you want.
Yes, you're being recorded.
And we just wrote a grant to
I
get
just
this
wrote,
set
I
up.
just wrote my photo earlier.
And we're not doing this to broadcast out anything, we're just doing this so these guys learn the equipment and then, they're practicing with this stuff, okay? So with that, now that you're done, I'm gonna turn it over to Riley.
She actually tells them.
And Riley, you can sit down, that's right, but if you wanna,
Can I just stay where my seat is?
Sure.
Just a little bit brief history about our program. Where we started is in the middle school, Mrs. Allison got a Quistom unit, and those Quistom units were little clickers that you had to unscrew, put some batteries in, screw back up. Well, she had how many?
About 145.
Okay, about 145. So using that many would take a lot of time. So instead of her personally having to unscrew each little one, screw it back together, she went up to a study hall and asked if any students weren't doing anything. A few boys came down with her, and in one period, they had it all done. She's sitting in her class period the next day, and a knock came on her door. The boys were back, and they were asking if they could have a little bit more fun and interest in the technology, and that really sparked the interest of, hey, these students want to use tech, and they know how to. And with that, we transitioned to P&C. P&C is the Pennsylvania's Educator Technology Expo and Conference. And that year, there was a presentation by the Pocono Mountains about a school that would have one student every year work in hand with the IT guy at the school. And that got us thinking, hey, these students here, they really want to learn about technology. Why not just one student, but 5? And with that, we began the small, mini first version of the STAC program. That year, we also decided that we were going to go one-to-one with the iPads, which meant we have over 1,000 students in the district. So 1,000 students, iPads that we had to manage, and 2-3 tech coaches weren't enough to manage all 1,000 iPads, and they asked a couple students to come down and help them with that, and that went from 5 to 8. And after that, they began to grow more and more, and from that 5 to 8, went to 28. And that 28 techs were a little hard to manage, which brought to us the office managers. Office managers are meant for making sure techs are on task and making sure everything like this runs smoothly. And from there, we began to grow and grow our program, and now we have over 80 students in our program. This year, we also offer more classes too to involve the students. From the middle school, we have Mrs. Allison's class, which is a intro to STAP almost, and we'll get they learn how to Python, they learn how to Python, right? I believe that.
Scratch, we do the basics.
I was not able to take this class, but, we also they do patch cables and learn troubleshooting and how to deal with customers who are upset. So they learn almost all aspects of it, so if they're not really a tech student or more an office manager student, they can see that while they're in that class. After that, we began to move the numbers, and with that move the numbers, we needed a space. We were gonna begin just using the cafeteria during lunch periods as a troubleshooting time for iPads and students to come and ask us questions, but we saw that we had too many students and there wasn't just enough time during lunch periods to do that, which brought to us this room. This room didn't look exactly like it was now. It was a kind of hodgepodge mess of tables, chairs, and everything else in between. And luckily we were able to transform that room into the 2 classrooms we have, and we even have a Kronos lab, which is where we keep all our 3D printing and laser engraving. That space is soon to be made into another unique space that we are envisioning.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the process to get into STAP. So when STAP first started, I know Mrs. Allison just kind of came to me and was like, hey, I have you in science, and you seem like the kind of person I want to have in STAP. But now there's a formal process, it's not just like being picked. All right, so in middle school, the middle schoolers can sign up for an elective called the STAP class, and Mrs. Allison teaches that. So in 7th grade, they learn things like hardware basics. They learn like they take an iPad apart and they look at it. They're introduced to making patch cables. They learn how to clean projectors. I know my sister is in 8th grade right now, and she's in 7th grade. They ran the wire for the security cameras, and they learned some basic coding through Scratch. And then when you take the class, you can apply to be an intern. So when you're in 8th grade and you're an intern, this year they've done Google certification. They wired the middle school STAP lab using their own Ethernet cords that they made. They learned how to use Python, and they're working on their Apple certification, and they also learned soft skills that year. Like, because a lot of them are a little nervous about interviewing, if they want to be in the program, they do practice interviews. So then, if they decide they want to be an STAP, they have to fill out an application, they get 3 teacher recommendations, and they agree to the bylaws of the program. And then from there, they can do the interview. The interview is in a panel of 3 senior STAP members, so junior seniors, the people in this room. A lot of us upperclassmen run them. So we ask them, like, what are you interested in the program? How would you deal with problems that you might face? Just like questions to get to know their maturity level, and then also their strengths and weaknesses, if they were to be in the program. And from there, we pretty much have the discretion if we want them in the program or not. I mean, Mr. Shea and Mrs. Allison do have input, but at the end of the day, it's our call if we feel like these students are ready to be in the program. And so, because we think that you should get credit for this program, it's a club, but we make sure that it's also a class. So because our schedule can be a little restrictive, and we don't want students to have to pick STAP instead of mock trial, or STAP instead of art, we make STAP a 10th period in the schedule. We run on a 9-period day, and it's an online course. So if you come to STAP and you do what you were told and you do your job well, you get graded based off of that, and someone later will talk about our actual grading system we have implemented, so that you can get a credit every year that you're in STAP without having to fit it into your actual schedule. So kids come in during their study halls, they come in during lunch, they can come in after school, they fit it in where they can.
And they can take it as an elective if they want to come every day, if this is really what they want to do, and do some independent learning as well.
Yeah, like I have a study hall and I take it as an independent study hall, so I come to this room instead of like the cafeteria. That's a lot of students do.
Okay, so I'll just be talking about a little bit about what we're doing this year. So last year we decided that we were going to switch over to a bit of a new system because we had gathered such a large number of students that it was getting a little bit difficult to manage, who was doing what and where sort of the process was leading from there. So our old superintendent, Dr. Hansen, was actually working on a degree, I believe it was creative problem solving, was just the degree that he was working on. So he actually needed to do a project for that class. So he decided to work with us, and a few of us got together with him like on a weekly basis, and we sort of just brainstormed what we were going to do to sort of streamline the process of the program. We basically decided that we were going to split up the entire program into different sections based on how we were going to split up the work. So we have the Treasury, which Taylor's in charge of. We have Meraki, which is Frank's area. And then we've got a few more areas, like, for example, my little shameless plug. I'm in charge of the Makerspace, which is Kronos, our C4 room. But we decided that because it's going to be student-run, and because we also want the students to be able to get something out of this, like the actual credit, there needed to be some sort of grading process. So essentially, we got together during the middle of the summer and brought up this plan for how the department heads were actually going to grade the students underneath them. So each department head has about anywhere from like 5 to 15 students underneath them, and they made their own rubric. So it's completely project-based. Each department head will actually assign a grade to the person that's working underneath them, and then report that back to Ava, then gives it to Mr. Shea, because Mr. Shea has the final say on whether or not the grade is actually fair. But it's still completely student-operated as far as the grading process. I think it's actually really important to note that like the department heads are in charge of organization over the whole. Like basically anything that goes on in the Makerspace goes through me first. Anything that's done with Meraki is through Frank. It's really big on trust, and it goes along with what we're doing over there in the Makerspace. Try to incorporate that in a little bit. Mrs. Allison and I have filed grants. We filled one for the Allegheny Intermediate Unit, $20,000 that we got to buy the laser engraver that we have over there right now. We've also got a couple 3D printers as well as a few more devices that we're starting to work with. But we're really still trying to build up that room so that we can eventually incorporate incorporate it in teachers' curriculums, and then get the students to start being able to work in there as a creative space.
One of the things that we went to visit a school district who had a makerspace, and you went through and they talked about how, they sold it and this was great. And that was fine, but when we left, we actually took some of our kids and the kids were talking to their kids. And as we went along, their kids kind of hung back and were talking and they're like, we don't know how to use this stuff. They know, but we don't. And they were actually texting our kids after we left and asking them about, hey, do you know how to do this, and can you help us with that? And that's where we kind of decided that what we didn't want to do is go out and buy a bunch of stuff and then just say, here it is. We went a different route. We built the support base here. So we're not the support, they're the support of that room. Once we had the support base built, then that's when we went out and got the equipment, and now they're the ones that support it. And when people come through, we have students that are trained, and we're building this as we go. And you'll notice that we have our senior group up front, but we have students sitting in the back. And what we do is they have people that they're training. So when they graduate, these people take over. And when they get older, they'll have people underneath them. And so we continually build upon our system with the younger kids coming up. So we go about it a little differently as far as how we do things. We base it off of our support already, and then we look and see what we can add in.
And the Makerspace really came from the students. They said, hey, we've heard about 3D printers, we've heard about this, we've heard about that. Can we do this? And I said to Brendan, I think it's a great idea. Why don't you research and see what you'd like to have, how you use it, how we use it, and then we'll look for some grants. The department heads work with their departments to set goals, and then they adjust their rubrics based on their goals for that particular 9 weeks or semester, depending on the size of the goal.
Okay, so first I'm going to be talking to you about my position in the program.
This is Ava.
Hi, I'm Ava. I'm the Assistant Director of Technology to Mr. Shea, and I work along with all the department heads. I schedule meetings with school board members and people throughout the district that Mr. Shea and I attend. We have a monthly meeting that we run between all of us, making sure everything is going smoothly. We oversee, Savannah helps me, oversees all the rollouts that whenever we're rolling over, whenever we're finished with the cycle of iPads, Savannah and I are in charge of running that. Mr. Shea isn't here, everyone reports to me. I can tell you where someone is at any given time. I know the whereabouts of every member. Some soft skills that we learn are leadership. We have to be in charge of all the other students in the program, that's a big thing. We take on a lot of responsibility with that. Also, speaking skills, like presentations like this, we get to practice. And we all manage a bunch of kids under us, so there's a lot of management skills that we learn there. For the past 2 years, we presented at P&C, like Riley mentioned earlier. And this year when we went, we didn't present, we just were attendees. And what we do is what we learn during the classes, we bring back to a program that we have called Starfleet Academy. And that is where teachers earn their IPDP development hours for the year. And actually this year, Brendan, Liz, Anton, Riley, and I, and Hannah, we went to P&C. So we will be taking some of the things we learned there and creating our own classes to teach the teachers this first week of summer. Something cool about Starfleet Academy is that it is, like, teachers don't come in during their in-service days, so they get their hours through that. It is an overlap from last year to the next year. So teachers have to earn 32 and a half hours, and they can catch up on what they haven't done for that year or get ahead on the next year during our Starfleet Academy. And it's a week-long training. Also, like Mr. Shea mentioned, the younger kids back here are listening in to learn what they will have to be talking about in future years when they present.
You might have caught an underlying theme. I have to explain something to you. You may know Justin Knoll. He's a principal at our elementary school. Every summer, we all get together and we go to movies. And so the year that we got this room done, we went to see Star Trek. And when we came back from Star Trek, he was like, "That's it, this is the Enterprise. I love this is the Enterprise." So we've kind of adopted that. This is the Enterprise, I'm the captain. If you saw The Next Generation, this is number 1. Okay, Starfleet Academy, you see now how it all runs together. We haven't, checked it out with Paramount, if we can use their name, but we're running with it until they tell us we can't.
So you get the cease and desist?
Yes, we're gonna,
We won't tell on you.
we're gonna beg for forgiveness instead of ask permission, so,
And even before that, Mr. Shea had named all of the servers after different
yes.
ships.
All we have all our servers are named after a sci-fi ship, so. We joke, you have to have a little bit of Asperger's to be in our group. We're all a little geeky in here, so, except the office managers, they're normal.
And Mrs. Allison told me today it was a big deal that they had to dress up today because it is May 4th.
Yes, it is.
So they
Said that
don't
they'll ride
normally,
you out.
they get excited about the attire they wear on those days. Today they had to
Y'all look very
dress up.
You look spectacular.
So who's after Ava? Okay.
I'm Anna, and I basically deal with all things dealing with public relations. So I have my own phone over there, and anytime parents have any questions relating to iPads, PowerSchool, the mass notification system, if I'm here, I'll answer it. If not, I'll just call them back and try to talk them through whatever is bothering them. I also set up community iPad training sessions after school. So any community members that had any problems with any technology devices, doesn't have to be Apple, I would pair them with a student to work with them for an hour so that they really got to know their devices, because there were a lot of people that really had these different devices but didn't really know how to use them or all the different abilities that they had. And we also have the help desk over there. So anytime that students come in with any issues with their iPads or if they shattered their iPads, they come in and we have a student working with them to help them with any problems. And I also schedule any teacher problems. So if they need something updated or if they have a projector issue, they'll contact me and I'll help schedule to make sure that they get their problems resolved. I think that's it.
And I think Anna's first training was going to be just simply an iPad training, and then when the community members came in, they'd pull out their Kindles or their Galaxies, and they'd say, "This is my iPad," and she'd have to say, "Oh, no, no, no." So from there, we used a grant to buy some Surface and some other different tablets, so when they call in and they say, "My iPad," and we say, "Are you sure it's an iPad?" They say, "Yeah," and they come in and they have a Kindle, we know, okay, here, this is a Kindle, let us teach you how to use your Kindle.
It is.
Okay, so I'm Taylor and I'm the department head of finance in our STEP program. So I'm the treasurer, it doubles as department head and treasurer. Mr. Shea calls me his CFO, which my dad quite likes because that's what he does for a living. So he was quite proud whenever I told him that Mr. Shea had asked me to become the next treasurer when the previous girl who would do it graduated. So part of being the treasurer is that I collect all the funds for anything that happens with the iPads. So right now we run on Apple Care, which is the insurance if you break your iPad, because with this many students in a school district, it's bound to happen quite a few times. So instead of paying for the full $319 it is for an iPad, they pay a $50 insurance at the beginning of the year. And then if they break the iPad and they want to get a new one, or at the end of the year if they have just been waiting to replace it, if it's broken, you have to send it back to Apple, so they have to pay the $50 then if it's broken. And then so that adds up to $100 instead of their full $319. And so I am in charge of taking all of that and keeping track of it. We have a Google Docs spreadsheet that me and I have now five, my trainee, this is Bailey behind me, she is training right now to take over once I graduate. And we have a spreadsheet where we enter in everything to make sure that that nothing gets lost and like, oh, well, they said that they paid but they didn't, or because beforehand it had been a little bit disorganized and people would get a little bit frustrated. So I do that, and then so at the end of the year when we do rollouts, we collect the iPads and then the students will get new ones the next year so that we run the 2-year cycle. And so at the end of the year I'll be collecting something like $30,000 about in payments for iPads and different things. And then throughout the year I collect other crazy amounts of money for a high school student seemingly to be doing. And I make the deposits down at the administration building. I'll go down there with me and a couple other students for safety reasons and things, and I'll make deposits with the lady that works down there. And I'll manage 2 different accounts. So one is our STEP fund, which is our club fund, and then there's another one that's our non-STEP fund, which deals with the money that goes back to Apple and things for the insurance and broken iPads. And the other one is money that we use for reimbursements of things when we buy snacks for different meetings that we have, or Pete and C just wrote us a check for $500 for a video that we had made. And so keeping all track of that is very important in the organization of it all, which is why me and the 5 girls that I have underneath me are the only ones that can ever take money. Mr. Shea and Joe, Miss Allison, they don't take money. They'll refer it to me. They'll be like, oh, you have to talk to her. And parents will be like, I'm giving the cash and the check, to her and everything. And so just the organization of that is key to the whole process. And yeah, that's about it.
So the money that we received from Pete and C for videotaping this year, we actually purchased these 2 Padcaster units with the microphones and things. So we always take anything that we get and roll back in to the program.
My name's Savannah. I'm the department head of TechFix, and essentially what TechFix is, it's a Google group, and all the teachers in our district can send emails to that group, and we'll receive them for any technological issues that they have, such as needing software downloaded, if a part in their projector is broken, if a printer's not working, stuff like that. We actually have another department for printers and projectors, and the student in charge of that actually contacts the company we order toners for and stuff like that. So if we have a printer that's out of toners, she can order that and they'll send it to us, and then we assign it to a tech who will go and install it the next day whenever the toners ship. Same thing for projectors. There's light bulbs that need ordered. whenever they come in, a student will go and install those as well into the projectors. However, over the past 2 years, I've been responsible for sending out our mass notification for the school. So that includes delays, any messages that need to be sent out, school cancellations, and stuff like that. So I would get texts, emails, phone calls. I actually talked to the superintendent my freshman year, so that was kind of scary. But I would get text calls, emails from Mr. Shea, the principal, the superintendent, about messages that need to be sent out. And normally they'd give me like kind of like an idea of what to say, and I would record my voice and then, schedule it for a certain time and it would go out. So as a freshman, I felt really good that they trust me with that. And but anyways, another thing I do is I'm in charge of Open Directory, which is our student information system. So whenever we get new students, we have to input all of their information, such as their phone numbers, emails, like all their contact information. So the administration office sends it over to Mr. Shea, and Mr. Shea puts it into a spreadsheet, and I can use that spreadsheet and input it into Open Directory. And a few people have access to that and can go in and get like usernames and passwords and stuff for students whenever they need to log into their school accounts. Whenever students withdraw from the school or have like an address change or anything like new information, like a phone number change or something, they have to fill out these sheets. And basically it has to go through a bunch of people such as guidance, attendance, middle school, athletics, health, and all of them have to check off on it saying that they received it and they see that the change is happening and stuff like that. And so this actually travels through all of the different buildings, and so like it's a little piece of paper, it's really easy to lose. So we're working on changing it into a Google Doc, so all of the people at those districts and different buildings will have access to it, and so they can see that and we don't have to worry about losing this piece of paper.
Okay, I'm Anton, and I am head tech here in the program. So first I'm going to talk a little bit about how we distribute and then collect iPads. We are this year nearing the end of our 2-year cycle, our second 2-year cycle. We'll be starting iPad collection soon, and then we will be rolling them out in the summer. We have staggered rollout dates. We have earlier dates available for advanced placement students who need their iPads earlier. We also have an option to purchase the device if students so wish. Instead of sending it back to Apple, they can purchase it at a pretty favorable price of about, I forget what the exact price is. $115.
Okay.
Okay. There it is. Which is obviously cheaper than you could buy an iPad, even used from any store. So we have a lot of students take advantage of that opportunity. Now, as Taylor said, having 1,000 students with 1,000 iPads means that iPads break. So for the past 2 cycles, we used an Apple service called GSX, Global Service Exchange. That is actually the service that is used by Apple technicians working in any Apple store or at the Genius Bar, which means that you also need to get certified to actually be able to use that system. We had the first wave of certifications about 3 years back, and so some of the people that got certified then are still allowed and able to use the system, such as myself. However, now that we have a new wave of interns and middle schoolers coming in basically every year, we decided to also offer a class on GSX Apple certification. It's called ACIT certification, which allows you to professionally handle iOS devices. Like Taylor said, we used to use AppleCare for the past 2 cycles. It is $100 for the 2 years and $50 premiums for every damaged instance, and you are allowed up to 3 of those until you have to pay full replacement price. We are actually moving to a new system, which Josh, who is behind me, will explain later on. It it allows us to only pay $60 once with free unlimited premiums for every damage instance. And they're local, and it's great.
Maybe banker now.
We also repair and set up every single computer in the high school. We have a department which sets up teacher machines and then services them. Josh, again, he actually worked on the personal laptop of the superintendent's wife. We like to throw that story around. Very high.
That's worse than the superintendent himself.
Yeah. It was a very high pressure moment for him and whatnot, but he got that squared away. We also set up and manage all lab computers. We have, I believe, 4 computer labs in the high school and middle school combined, and we have 1 tech per lab who's responsible for setting up, updating, servicing every computer in that lab. We also manage every setup, and we try to manage every maintenance instance of basically all the hardware in the high school, such as projectors. I know they were mentioned earlier. Like that projector right there was installed by a student. Wireless access points, you can see one right there with the blue light. We installed those. Hannah will talk more about networking in general. And we recently installed cameras all throughout the high school, which again will fit into Hannah's networking speech. We've also recently begun working on programming, which is something that we realized we were lacking. We have 2 programming departments, both headed by Aaron Kovacs there. They deal with iOS mobile development using Swift and Oculus VR development with C#. Actually, both of the PCs which we built for VR development because we needed a Windows machine, we both built them in-house from scratch from parts. And so Aaron will now talk more about that.
I'm head of programming. I'm Aaron. Basically, my job boils down to like 2 parts, right? It's teaching kids so that they can take over from me, and making apps for the tech in general. Right? So we have 2 groups under the training thing. We have virtual reality and iOS programming. So the iOS programming, that's really making apps.
I have one afternoon announcement. All those members of the girls soccer team need to stop by the athletic office today after school. Again, members of the girls soccer team, please stop by the athletic office today.
That's that box that goes in your head and like supposedly takes you somewhere. Well, it actually does, and we're working on that kind of stuff. That could be applied to really anything. A Spanish teacher who wants to take their kids to Portugal, but doesn't realize how expensive it is. We can, put them right there with the teachers. So the 4 kids who are doing that and the 2 kids who are doing iOS programming are already taught by me, and will eventually take on my job maintaining the ticket system, like the website that we have. So right now we kind of do it like voice and mouth. So you open a ticket, a teacher comes in, you talk to someone, maybe they send an email, and it's a bit jumbled around. Okay. So what I'm working on is we're going to streamline it with a website. Teachers can file things and it gets passed to the department head that needs to work on their department, and then it gets passed to the next department head, and so on. And after I'm gone, kids I'm teaching will take that over. All in all, that kind of sums up the iOS and VR department, which is actually all run on Hannah's network.
Okay, before Hannah goes, I want to explain just a couple things. You have ticket systems out there that you can purchase, but we've decided to go on the path of why go ahead and do that when we can give them a project and do that in-house. So Aaron's writing the entire program from scratch, and then that gives us the ability to change it and use it the way we want. One of the other things Aaron did is I do all the hockey games for the rink over here. And one of the biggest problems I have is when a kid gets a 10-minute game misconduct, you have to be able to tell that kid when he can get out of the penalty box. But if it's at like 5:46, I'm I'm 50, I can't do the math anymore, so I'm sitting there, we're all in there like counting on our fingers, okay, yeah, you get out at 12:46, and no, 13:46. Can't you write an app for me? So he came back, and within a week, now I have an app that all I have to do is go in and put the time of the penalty and hit the button. Yeah, you get out at 12:46 on the list. So he wrote an app for it, and then we put it out on the store, and then now I've told people come into I run all the penalty boxes and the score sheet, and yeah, that's when you get out. What are you doing there? It's like, oh, it's an app. Yeah, just go to iTunes and download it. So, you know, we're not looking for things to do just to say it for the sake of doing it. We're looking things that have actual practical applications in life. And so that's why we've undertaken, we want to do the ticket system. We could go out and buy a ticket system. There's even open source ones. But why do that when I have kids that can program it? And that gives them something that they can use later on in life as a resume.
And build it exactly as we need it.
Okay, so we're going to go to Hannah now with the networking.
So I run the entire network for the district, but I have 13 kids under me, and each one is in charge of their own switch or their own closet in the district, and they're all currently studying for our CCNA certifications, which Mr. Shea meets with us once a month and goes over everything, since he already has his certification. And we should be ready to take our first tests in the summer, and everyone is responsible for backing up to the TFTP server once a month so we don't lose any of our configs on our network. And also we have them do switch changes once a month so they can practice on a live network before they take their test. We had 50 wireless access points installed
About 3 years ago.
and so we've installed all of the rest of them sets. So we've installed 31 wireless access points ourselves, and that involves running the wire ourselves, beeping the server, hanging it ourselves, making sure it works. We did the same system with security cameras, so we had the company come and install them outside since we can't get up on the callback, so we don't work on ourselves, but we have installed all of them in this building so far. And so all these devices we purchased through E-Rate, and I did the E-Rate process last year. I did all the bids and scored them, announced the winner.
These are folks that have done E-rates, they know how difficult that is.
Yeah, we're sorry, we're very sorry that you need to.
John Hines, our business manager, said, why can't they do this? And I was like, I don't know, why can't they?
And she
I
did.
guess we can. I can't come up with a reason why not, so I sat down with him and said, you're in charge of the network, let's do it.
And we actually just obtained $32,000 because of our program's efforts that goes toward our E-Rate next year. So that's very exciting. And I am the incoming president for next year, so next year I will be desktop president.
Now, and one of the things that you have to understand, and Julie can back me up, when we first started, I was not this open. You know, it was like, no, nobody's gonna be able to do this. And then when she showed me what the kids could do,
Just hold up. CFF coach. Mr. Shea, there is so much on YouTube. We need to let the teachers use YouTube. He made me have all of the district teachers that thought they might like to use YouTube go to the auditorium, almost sign their names in blood after I did a full presentation, and then gave them special passwords they could use to break through and watch YouTube videos. Sorry, go ahead.
we've gone from that to
Letting them run his network.
when we got the last thing we're left, OD, the kids can look up usernames and passwords, so when they have to go work on a teacher's machines, they go in, OD, look up the teacher's name, get their username and password so they can log in and work on their device. So we let them do that, then we got the switches through E-Rate, and I was like, okay, since we're doing CCNA, there were 14 kids in CCNA, I got 14 switches. Let's learn how to configure a switch. Once they configured the switch, then I said, all right, let's let them learn how it is to rack one. Once they racked it in their rack, then I was like, all right, why not? So right now, each one has a username and password for a switch or switches in their closet. That's all they have is their closet. Now, they don't have access to the MDFs. I still have that. And I explained to them that there are two people in this district that have access to that switch, me and you. If something happens, everyone's gonna point at you because I'm not gonna go mess it up. And we use that as a learning experience. Look, something goes wrong, you come tell me, now you see why we back up to the TFTP server, you learn how to pull it back and get it back up. Learning experience. Mess it up, don't tell me, now it's considered something else, it's a disciplinary issue, we could say you were hacking or whatever. So we try to use that as a learning experience to say, hey, we're not a multi-million-dollar company that if the network goes down in that closet, we have time, as education, we can work on it. So also thinking, all right, they're studying for their CCNA, when they graduate, they'll have their CCNA, that's great. What experience do you have? Well, we played with a couple switches in the classroom. No, now they can say, okay, we got CCNA, and Bailey's been doing it since 8th grade, so by the time she goes, she's gonna be able to say, I have my CCNA and I have 5 years experience working on a live network. So that's why we kind of said, okay, I'm gonna tough it out and give them access to a live network. And it goes back to one of the words, you heard a couple of them say, trust. Frankie's gonna talk about Meraki, and then he's also gonna talk a little bit about trust. And then we've gotta wrap it up because we've got kids that are just dying and now they're waiting.
As you said, my name is Frankie. I am in charge of Meraki. Meraki is basically just the iPad management system that we use because we have so many iPads. The way it works basically is it's split into different networks, and the networks, for example, one would be middle school, one would be high school, and all the iPads can be pushed to applications that the middle schoolers, the high schoolers need. So, an example, Spanish class. Mr. Hank, one of our Spanish teachers, can come in and say, I need this app, and this app. Mr. Shea can get the licenses for it, he can tell me, and then I can push all of those apps under one tag to that class. Another way we use it is if people break their iPads, they can come in, give us an iPad. We'll almost always have new ones like on stock. I usually can get it to them within a period set up. All I really have to do is give it the same tags and rename it so that they can have basically the same iPad that they had.
Just to add right there, when we first started this 4 years ago, our turnaround was a couple days, and now we've got it down to, our turnaround now is a period by using students.
So my job basically throughout the year depends on how many people break iPads, but so I mean sometimes it's a lot, but the really big thing is the rollouts. We're going to have another rollout this year. We're going to have to roll out 1,800 iPads. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to collect all the old iPads that we have in here right now. We have to move them out of the system because we can only store so many. Once we take them out of the system, we get the new ones. We have to set all of those up. We have to give them a sticker for their ID number, name them for the students, and then we'll have days where certain grade levels will come in and they'll walk around here, all around the tech room, and they'll do all the different steps and we'll give them their iPad. That's basically Meraki. One thing, Meraki, I could lock people's iPads down whenever. I could delete all the information on their iPads. So another big thing is trust. And you'll hear that all the departments have a lot of trust involved in them. Truth be told,
Wait a minute, you gotta explain it.
I have to explain
Because they gotta know.
Okay, I've never seen the movie A Few Good Men. I've just watched this part over and over and over again. I missed a meeting, and they were choosing who gave the trust speech. It was the wrong meeting to miss. I have the trust speech now.
We had a teacher, we had a school district come in and visit, and when she left, she sent us this parody on the trust speech, and so,
That she had written.
and so we always end it with our Jack Nicholson impersonation over here.
Reenactment.
Yes.
The floor is yours, Jack.
That's why you get paper.
Yes.
Truth be told, some people can't handle the trust. We live in a world with passwords, and those passwords have to be guarded. Who's going to do it? STAP. STAP has a greater responsibility than you can possibly fathom. You weep because your technology doesn't work. You have the luxury of not knowing how to fix your technology. STAP's existence, while fascinating and incomprehensible to you, saves iPads. You don't want the truth because deep down in places you don't talk about at parties, you want STAP. You need STAP in the classroom. We use words like honor, code, loyalty. We use these words as the backbone of a life spent fixing iPads. I have neither the time nor the inclination to explain to people who sleep under the blanket of their seamlessly working technology that STAP provides and then questions the manner in which STAP provides it. I would rather you just said thank you and went on your way. Otherwise, I suggest you take an STAP class and interview for STAP.